What's up guys, today I explain you, Jujutsu Kaisen Gege reveals how Sukuna is related to Wasuke Itadori. And don't forget to like this video, subscribe this channel, now have fun with the video. In Gege's Shinjuku Showdown arc, the relationship between Yuji Itadori and Sukuna was finally revealed to the fans. When Sukuna was fighting against Yuji, it was made clear to the fans that he was actually born as a twin. However, inside his mother's womb, he ended up consuming his twin, which is why he looks the way he does. Essentially, Sukuna was cursed from the get-go, but, in a way, also forced to survive. It was then revealed that Sukuna's twin reincarnated many years later as Jin Itadori, who fans know to be Yuji's very own father. This essentially made Sukuna Yuji's very own uncle, and this is what fans operated under up until recently. This relationship of Sukuna with Yuji was certainly interesting enough in the final segment of the series, and it also went on to explain why Sukuna was as invested in Yuji as he was, and at the same time, why Yuji had tremendous potential that could rival Sukuna's own. It was Yuram who stated that Sukuna being Yuji's uncle and having lived in his body essentially means that he carries the same potential as him, and that certainly was exciting for the fans, to say the least. However, the relationship between Sukuna and Yuji has now officially changed. It appears that the author made a mistake in the weekly publishing of the chapters, and the volume version officially corrects this mistake. In the volume version of Gege, it is revealed that Jin Itadori is not Sukuna's reincarnated twin at all. In the final volume, Gege added his own notes to the various Gege chapters. Here, he went on to confirm a major fact that surprised quite a lot of fans. Most fans operated under the assumption that Yuji was actually Sukuna's nephew. However, this isn't exactly the case. It was revealed by Gege that it wasn't Jin Itadori who was the incarnated brother of Sukuna, but Wasuke Itadori. For those who do not remember, Wasuke is Yuji's grandpa who fans saw at the very beginning of the series. It's quite interesting to know that once Wasuke left Yuji's life, Sukuna essentially entered. This connection makes more sense than Sukuna being related to Jin, who carries very little prominence in the Gege story in the grand scheme of things. However, at the same time, it also changes Yuji's relationship with Sukuna completely. As things stand, Wasuke and Sukuna were essentially brothers, and Sukuna then went on to consume him. He then reincarnated into Yuji's grandfather many centuries later, and then the birth Jin Itadori. It is Jin who is actually Sukuna's nephew. Meanwhile, Sukuna is actually Yuji's granduncle, which complicates the relationship quite a bit. When it comes to Sukuna's relationship with Wasuke, it certainly makes more sense that they are related. After all, Wasuke was very similar in appearance to Sukuna, and fans knew that there was something between these two individuals. At the same time, he also had a much more important role in Yuji's life. He taught him the meaning of love and helping other people, which was the total opposite of Sukuna. Essentially, he and Sukuna were two sides of the same coin. While one rejected love and took an extreme path, the other accepted it and tried his best to help as many people as he could. It was Wasuke's love that ended up defeating Sukuna for good in the end. That said, this is a rather strange mistake for the author to make. Wasuke being Sukuna's reincarnated brother isn't something minor that the author can simply correct in the volume version and get away with. This is an absolutely massive mistake by the author, and something that had the fans confused. Thankfully, Gege's final saga focused so much on the battles that the lore aspect of things mattered very little. In the end, Yuji ended up defeating Sukuna anyway, which essentially means that whoever was related to him did not matter much. The author made a massive retcon in the story, as even Sukuna himself went on to state at one point that it was his reincarnated brother whom Kenjaku went on to have children with. As fans know, Kenjaku had children with Jin and not Wasuke, which complicates things even further. But, the major change of Wasuke being Sukuna's reincarnated brother matters little in the grand scheme of things. Of course, if Wasuke and Sukuna's relationship was further developed in the story, then this change would have been massive. But, as fans know, this relationship holds little weight because Wasuke's role is extremely small in Gege, and his connection to Sukuna is not elaborated upon at all. It is simply there to serve as a connection between Yuji and Sukuna, and it does its job well in that regard. If Jin were Sukuna's reincarnated brother, then things would still have not changed much at all. At the end of the day, Yuji inherited the potential of these individuals and went on to beat Sukuna, carrying on the legacy of those who came before him. He ended up breaking the cycle once and for all, and that is how the story of Ryaman Sukuna concluded. At this point, GJK has concluded already, and it matters little to the author what ends up happening in the grand scheme of thanks to these individuals. But, at the very least, fans can finally say that the popular idea that Jin would be connected to Sukuna in some way or form has finally come true, and while offers little to the story overall, it is still an exciting connection.